Hello everyone and welcome back to Nellie's Nerd Cave, where we dive deep into the world of tech and everything in between. And if you love experimenting with hardware, learning new things and setting up cool stuff, you're in the right place. Today we're going to look and set up a Proxmox server for my online teaching, and I'm using some pretty interesting hardware, so let's get started. Hi, I'm Neil and welcome back to my Nerd Cave. And today we're looking at setting up a wonderful server. As some of you may be aware, my day job is to teach computing to apprentices here in the wonderful rainy UK. I like to be able to demonstrate particular operating systems to show how to set things up, the possible issues that may arise and things like that, just to get the learners to have a go with machines. Now, in the past few years, I've been using things like the desktop version of Hyper-V, and I've been using this now for some time. I've not had any issues, but I feel that things need to change up. So I've heard of this wonderful piece of software called Proxmox, and I've seen it go around a few videos on YouTube and just wondered if this would be any good, and thought maybe this is a better way for my learners to actually learn a new software and be able to install it onto a machine and have a play today. So I'm going to build a machine and install Proxmox and take you through my journey of learning this brand new operating system and being able to install things, hopefully in a virtual environment. All right folks, let's take a quick look at this hardware, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this as we go. So first of all, I need my test bench, which just happens to be on the floor. Okay, so here's my test bench. You've probably seen these before. Brilliant piece of equipment, piece of kit to have a play with. So here is where the fun begins. This is an X99 8D4 by Xeon. This was a board that I featured on a previous video in my first NAS build, which significantly I've significantly upgraded since. This is an LGA 2011 version 3 board that supports a maximum speed of 2400 megahertz of RAM. It has a few little quirks which I will take you through as we go through these. So first of all, let's get this motherboard installed within this. It's relatively simple on this particular frame because everything just clips in and it's really cool. All right. Let's take a quick look at the processor I'm going to put in this. So like I've said, this board can be a little quirky and we'll get back to those bits soon. So here we have an Intel Xeon. This is an E5-2683 V4 processor. It has 16 cores and 32 threads. So I think this is going to be adequate enough to handle those virtual machines. So let's pop this into the motherboard with these X99 chipset board, should I say. You have to take this little thing off here, okay, and then we have to align, because the little arrow again on this is actually imprinted onto the metal of this actual retaining system. So we bob that in, we can then get our two things down. That is our processor installed. Next up, what we have is we have a total of 32 gigabytes of SK Hynix DDR4 ECC memory. This is specific to server technologies and things like that. So this is error correcting memory, which means it's really reliable, it's great for server work, and it's really good for stability. Now, here's where this kind of fun begins, because like I've said, there's a few quirks here. So first things first, if you're using this motherboard, this particular one, it looks pretty, it looks nice, but unfortunately, you have to place the RAM in the correct places. Okay, so with this particular motherboard, if you use one stick of memory, so if I'm using one stick of 16 gig, I need to put it in the first slot as close to the I/O as I possibly can, or it won't even boot. Okay. Funnily enough, no instructions come with this motherboard when you buy it. This is the one I got off AliExpress, and there's nothing that comes with it. The second one must then go in the following furthest away slot. And that's my 32 gigs now installed within this particular system. What I'm going to do as well is I have a relatively small 256 gig NVMe here. It's come from some kind of device. I bought it off Facebook Marketplace, and I got two of these, and both of them were like £10 for both. But unfortunately, you need to add this extra extension, which is like a couple of pounds from Amazon and things like that. So now we've got this, just need to install it in the correct place. There's only one place you can put it in this particular board, and this is one reason I upgraded my NAS, because there just wasn't enough I/O. Whereas for doing something like virtualization, virtual servers, I'm not really going to put anything else in there. I could teach how to do things like adding and porting through graphics cards, like I've done with Hyper-V. But at this present moment in time, this is just an experiment to see how we get on. So now we have our 256 gigabytes of NVMe installed. So now we've got the majority of these things together. What I'm now going to do is, first of all, I'm going to move this out of the way, because who needs that? We can get our 24-pin plugged in. I can also get my front I/O plugged in, which is always nice. And I need one of these, an EPS. Now this one won't reach because it comes off my Elmore Labs testing board. So I need an extension. So this extension will be perfectly fine. He says, not be able to get it even in there.
Eventually.
Ah, there we go. And then this thing can go in the other end. Fabulous. Now, again, with this particular one, what I'm going to do is I now have to use a particular cooler. Now, the particular cooler I'm using is the Thermalright SL100. It's just a plain black one. It has 6 heat pipes. It's really quiet. It's a very nice cooler. I could just use a cheap and cheerful one like I got with the AliExpress build, but unfortunately it's noisy and I don't like it. I don't like it when it's noisy. This one's relatively nice to put together. Never been opened. We've got the fan and we have the heatsink here, and again you can see it's low profile, so if I really wanted to put this into a case, I can put it in a low profile case. It's really good as well because to prevent sag of this, there's actually a little bracket that holds the fins stack up, which is really good. Again, let's shift all this out of the way so that I can get in. Bag of bits that we need. It says not being able to open them. And as far as I understand, come back, don't roll away. Only problem when you're making stuff and building things, things roll away. So we put these 4 weird ones with double threads on. Oh, try putting them in the right place. There we go. Can't always do these things right, can I? So you put one in each corner on the actual retention bracket. And, oops, I don't need that. Wrong way around, because it's the thicker thread at the bottom. And really, that's about it. So what we do then is I decide which way I want it to go. So I'm going to probably have it that way around. At which point each one of these will go on like so. So you put your retention brackets on, then you screw the tops on each one, making sure that they are nice and tight. And then I will get some thermal paste. So I always use the Arctic MX4 thermal paste. I find this really good, really good at transferring the heat to the CPUs. Just pop some on like so. Not going to give you a close-up because everybody's seen a million builds before. This one is just really for me to kind of get stuff done. Let's... normal me. Almost forgot the little sticker at the bottom. That wouldn't have been very thermally efficient now, would it? So, little sticker off the bottom. It's very shiny. It's very nice. Then we line it up like so. It says not being able to line it up at all. Oh, come on, Neil, you can do this. There we go, well done. Pat on the back for you, Neil. Fabulous. And my screwdriver isn't long enough. So, one moment, please. And with that, I'm back with a long screwdriver. So now I should be able to hopefully screw this down nicely into its position. Do a little bit on one side, then a little bit on the other. That way it spreads that paste out a bit more evenly, and then crank it down all the way to the bottom. And that should be absolutely on there. Really tough, really strong. And then lastly, I put the fan. There we go. Fan still sealed in its bag. We shall go this way around. Where's the cooler for the CPU? There we right, so CPU fan can go in there. Excellent. And then all we have left is these two little brackets. Now all we do is we put these on like so, and we clip it on to the heatsink. And there we go, that's built. So with that, let's now get to actually booting this up and seeing if we can get into BIOS. If we can get into BIOS, that should be pretty good. And we're ready to install the operating system, which is called Proxmox. But just out of the corner of my eye, I've just noticed I've missed one vital part. This particular motherboard, one of its other quirks, not just having to place the RAM in the right place, but this board does not come with any external graphics. So you have to provide your own. So this is the GT710. It's a wonderfully trusted one. This has just got 2 gigs of RAM, just enough for what you need to be able to do that. And we'll install that within the first port there. And we'll get a screw off here, and I will stick this on so that it's all screwed in, it's all secure. So now I should be able to get a signal out for my graphics. And with all that, I'm going to now, off camera, I'm going to plug it all in, and then I shall join you when I'm ready to switch it on. Okay, so all ready to switch on now. Let's see if we can power this beast up. Have I switched it on? Nope. Let's try again. No?
1 hour later.
Okay, so everything's ready. I got myself a keyboard, just a cheap wireless one. Let's see if we can switch it on and get into BIOS. Hopefully we have a loud fan. Quieten down. Let's see if we can get a picture on screen, get into BIOS, and hopefully we should be up and running anytime today. No? Definitely not today. Oh. We've got a thing on the screen. Well done. Fantastic. And there we go. We've got a post. And it's loading into Windows by the looks of it. Okay. Don't need it to load into Windows. So let's restart this and let's go into... I didn't realise there was a Windows image on that particular NVMe, but obviously there is. So let's get our trusty USB. Use Rufus for this to be able to put Proxmox on there. Let's see if we can get it to install Proxmox. Please don't boot into Windows again. Yay! Okay, so now we're into BIOS, so let's have a quick look. Yes, we have 32 gigs of RAM, so both sticks are being seen. We have our correct date and time, good, excellent. So let's see if we can get it into a boot priority that enables us to boot from the Kingston drive. So this is, again, we just need to change the boot order number 3, right, so it's an old-fashioned boot order. Kingston Traveller please, then NVMe, then boot manager. That will do nicely. Save that, and let's see if we can get it to boot from this. Yes, brilliant. So now we're into the Proxmox installer, and all I need to do now is really follow the on-screen instructions. I like things graphical, because I don't do console. So it's going to load all this up. Let's see if we can get it installed.
A lot of boring math later.
Okay, that took a little longer than I thought. I had a few issues. So my trusty GT710 didn't actually work, so I've had to up it to a 1660. And it kind of got stuck on the drivers. So let's see if we can make this actually function. Are we working? Yes, we are. So let's see now. We should now actually get to the actual install window rather than it literally stopping, and it kind of stopped at the driver's point, and I think it's because this is an X8 card rather than an X16. Could be wrong. It's also probably because this is a GT710 and it doesn't support the GT710. I need to do some research into that to see why it failed on that one, but now we should get the window up for being able to install everything. Hopefully, he says, fingers crossed. So graphical, because again, like I said, not a person that does console. Let's get past that last bit. Yes, brilliant. So now we're actually past that. We can actually get into installing all this and making sure it functions, unless there is another issue. Fantastic. So we've now got into a smaller font, which means that it's recognized everything. So it wants a mouse. So let's put this back in so that I've got a mouse driver on there. It might work, it might not. Let's see. Ooh, look, a mouse. Good. So yes, whatever you're trying to display, I agree. Yes, I have a 256 gig drive, and let's have a look. Yep, you can wipe it. Good. That's fine. My country. Where do I live? I live in the United Kingdom. And this is to get all the information across so that all the times and dates are accurate. So I could potentially set it up as a time server as well. You're not going to see my email because I'm going to blur it out. So hopefully this shouldn't take too long. We should be back shortly with actually utilizing this, and I don't know. Never used it before, so do I get a front end? I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be like Windows. Oh, okay, so that's all installed. That must be functioning. So I actually need to go to a particular web page. That web page is the IP address followed by a port number. So I'm going to have to go on a different machine and be able to sort that all out. So with the magic of a little button under here, I can go to, so it can see it. All right, so you go to the website and it looks like it's asking you for a username and password. Now, I did type a password in. I'm wondering if it's the same as all Linux, where it's root. It is. So when I log into this now, I've got root, and let's have a look. So having not done this or used this before, I'm just guessing. But it looks like here is where you add in your ISO images to be able to create a virtual machine. So let me just add one. I do have Windows 11, so let's put that in. And we'll upload that. I think what I'm next going to do is I'm going to next try and install a virtual machine. Again, not done this before, so probably guessing that you've got the button in the top right that says Create VM. So I'll wait until this is installed and then I'll do a Create VM and see how that functions. Because again, I'm doing this for my classes, for my teaching, so that then I can give learners a little bit of a better experience using it, giving them something different to use rather than the standard Hyper-V or the or VMware's vSphere software, which a lot of my learners in their apprenticeships actually utilize either VMware's vSphere or Microsoft Hyper-V. This is a really good thing to kind of start using, because you never know, their company may update to something a little bit like this, because again, I've heard that it's very powerful and it's very easy to use. So far, easy to use is true, because I'm using it and I've not really used this before. So that's my ISO. Let me create a virtual machine. Resource pool. What's that for? Just call it Windows 11. And there's my ISO image. Brilliant. So I can stick it on there and it will treat it as a DVD and CD, just like it does in Hyper-V. Graphics will use the default. I don't know what I'm doing with any of these things, so we'll keep them as default. Any disks, we'll use the local, and we'll give it, what will I do, 256, won't it? So if I give it 60 gigabytes, that should be enough. Okay, so I can allocate individual cores at this point. So let's give it 8 cores. I've got 32 available, so let's give it 8. And I've got 64 gigs of RAM, so I can give it 8 gig, 8 cores, 8 gig. I'll leave that as default because I don't know what that means, and we'll confirm that. Let's go and have a look. Oh, this has just popped up, Windows 11. So now how do I make this function? Right, so I've got console. Okay, start guest. See if it works. Ooh, look. And we got Windows 11. But is it actually loading? Can I pop the console out? I can. Oh, that's good. It's not doing its usual round and round it goes. It is doing a weird flickery thing. Oh, it's working. I can see it now. There we go. We can see the little wheel of doom. It's very slow, but I think that's because I'm using older equipment. It is DDR4, but it is quite an old processor, to be fair. Let's see if we can get it installed. Install Windows. I agree to everything will be deleted. Yes, please. I don't have a product key. But for this demonstration, it's perfectly fine not to. Let's put Pro on. Oh no, it does not meet the requirements. All right, so let me shut down that. This will have something to do with TPM. So can I add a TPM state, TPM storage, put it there, version 2, add. Is that because it hasn't finished yet? Is that what this is telling me? It hasn't done. Just stop. Yes. Oh no, you can't do it. Right, now it's done. Right, let's add the TPM state. Let's stick it on that drive. There's TPM. Let's do this again and see what happens. Hopefully it should now install because it's got a TPM module, or it's not got a TPM module. It's a virtual TPM module, which is going to trick Windows 11 into thinking that there is one so that it can boot correctly and it has all the relevant bits and pieces to be able to install Windows 11 and make it function adequately. But again, we're having to wait for the Wheel of Doom to be able to get this sorted. And once we're done, hopefully I'll come back and we will have installed Windows 11. Okay, and that's it. We've got the Proxmox server up and running. It seems to be working fine, and it's going to be ready to help with all my online demonstrations. And I am excited to start using this for virtualizing different environments for my teaching. I did find that there were a few issues where I've really not understood the way that the virtualization works. You see, it's a bit more granular when it comes to the settings of things. So for example, I have to set the specific individual BIOS settings, and I had it on something called CBIOS, which point I had to then change it to the UEFI BIOS. UEFI BIOS seemed to work perfectly fine and it functioned well. I also needed to change the boot order because the boot order had tons and tons of different stuff and it was going through all the networking things. I had to take off all the things off the boot order. Also, Windows 11 did not like the SCSI drive, so I had to take that off and get back my 60 gigabytes, which I'd already set up, and then set it up with a SATA drive, not a separate one, but a virtual SATA drive rather than SCSI, again with the same 60 gigabytes. And now you can see behind me it's installing. We're on 42% of installing Windows 11 and it's absolutely functioning perfectly fine. As for things like statistics, if I look on my summary of my information here, I can see that I'm only using 5% of my CPU, which isn't much at all. I'm only using 25% of the RAM that's in here, and to be honest, I could get 64 gig in this quite easily because there's another 2 slots that I could put 16. As far as I understand, this motherboard only takes 64 maximum, so that would be fine. And I'm only using 11% of the hard drive space. Now what I could do is I could add to the SATA ports some SSDs, at which point I could then have one SSD specifically for the ISO images for the virtualized software, and then I could have one or a couple of hard drives for 2 or 3 virtual machines. These then will then be able to allow me to demonstrate the installs of things. However, the only drawback is that it's relatively slow compared to the computer I use for the Hyper-V demonstrations. So this might be useful for when I'm doing some lab work within my teaching on things such as when we're doing defend and respond type of instances, where I could set up an internal segregated network that has a server and a couple of clients on it, and then I can run a Linux machine to be able to send hacks in to try and hack the network and try and defend against those. And these are the types of things that I teach. And really, with all that, that's everything done. I'm just going to wait and see if Windows 11 actually connects and actually is installing, which it is because it's restarted again. So that tells me that, again, 94%, we're almost there. And really, if you found this video helpful at all, don't forget to give this a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future tutorials. And I've got more server builds coming up, software setups, lots of nerdy experiments that I like doing with things coming your way. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time in my nerd cave.